Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Progressive Parent YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about empathy because of all the communication tools that I've learned over the last couple of years, the one that has really helped me has been learning to empathize because as adults, especially when we're dealing with kids, we often really feel like we have got a lot of experience to share and we're keen to jump in with excellent advice. But a lot of the time, when someone's feeling down, what you don't do is so much more important than what you actually do. And the way you choose to listen to a child or even an adult when they're upset can really affect how much they get out of your counsel. A lot of the time, instead of giving empathy, we offer advice or our own experiences or try to reassure them. Um, and all of those things can hold a place and can comfort, but I feel very strongly, and in my experience, it has been true, that what you really want to do is listen well and reflect experience back for them so that they know that you really understand what's going on, and then find out whether they want to hear about your stories or give them advice. Usually, you'll know when someone is ready to receive from you because you'll see a kind of weight lift did off their shoulders, and they'll begin to listen more and talk less very naturally. The more you practice this, the more effective you get at it. At least that's been my experience. And you'll really see people calm down once you learn to listen properly. If you don't already, or if you do, you can continue to learn to listen better. Also, it's good to give people the opportunity to come up with solutions of their own and not feel like you're trying to fix them. So, I'm going to take you through some alternatives to the way that most people react when someone brings to them a problem. And by the way, I found that these techniques are really good when dealing with adults as well. I use them all the time to give comfort to friends and associates if people are feeling upset or anxious or worried. Once you learn the principles, they'll really help you with others and they're dead easy to apply as well. So the premise is that empathy is a respectful understanding of what others are experiencing. Empathy requires listening to others without making judgments of them and imposing our own preconceived ideas onto what they're going through and who is to blame. Instead of offering empathy, many of us often give unsolicited advice and try to reassure people or explain our position and feelings. Often this makes them feel worse rather than better understood. The basic principle is listening and then identifying the child or the adult's emotion so we can reflect those feelings back. There's something immensely therapeutic about feeling that someone's been able to identify with what you're feeling. So, as I've said, the first thing we want to avoid to start off with is advising prior to being asked for advice or asking if they're ready to hear advice. So, for example, Chloe comes home saying she's fallen out with her friends. If we can stave off the urge to say, why don't you find some other girls to play with? Or how about you phone them and tell them how you feel? Or worse still, try and solve the problem for them. I'll call their parents and tell them to have a word. What we can do instead is just say something simple like, gee, you're really upset, aren't you? That's an invitation for the child to speak more, which can be really helpful. They'll say, yes, we've been friends since last grade, and now she doesn't want to play, and you continue to reflect back her feelings. So you're disappointed because you've been friends for a long time, and you're worried that they won't want to make up with you again. And just give the child as much opportunity as possible to talk through what they're feeling and then see how receptive they are to to advice. And again, as you can continue, the child will visibly calm down and they'll be ready to talk about solutions. I advise against saying how you're feeling because a lot of the time people don't know how to say what they're feeling. We suggest a feeling. So we say, are you so you're anxious about this or you're frustrated about that. And that helps people correct you if you've not got it quite right. They'll say, no, I'm not angry, I'm just upset, or I just feel down, or I'm disappointed. Giving suggesting a feeling is kind of like putting a spot up on a radar which they can navigate to help them find exactly where they are. We also don't want to deny feelings, which is called shutting down. This can be sadly really common. So we might hear ourselves saying things like, "You can't be tired, you just had a nap," or "There's no reason to be so upset." Avoid saying things like, "You're getting wound up over nothing." "Cheer up, don't feel so bad." However trivial the problem may seem to you, a breakup is as real to a 10-year-old child as a divorce is to an adult. They're just beginning to experience those things in life. All it takes is to empathize instead by saying, "So you're feeling tired even though you've just napped," or perhaps the child comes home after having a fallout. Instead of saying, "I'm sure you'll make up again tomorrow," you can say, "You're really upset that you fought, aren't you?" Pitying or consoling can also be heard as shutting down. So when you say, "It wasn't your fault, you did the best you could," or "You poor thing," these approaches seem to be sympathetic, but they don't really get into the child's feelings, which is what they really need to open up a bit more. You can also invite the child to speak more with one word responses, like just saying, "Oh, I see, no fooling. You did, huh? Tell me more." You can judge when these might be appropriate yourself. So some things we really want to avoid are one-upping. "That's nothing. Wait till you hear what happened to me when I was your age." Or correcting, "That's not how it happened." And especially taking the other person's side. "I'm not surprised the teacher punished you if you were late again. You end up holding the whole class back." Those kind of things are really going to make the person you're talking to feel more the victim, even if you don't think that their behavior was appropriate. Maybe just giving them empathy will give them the ingenuity and space to say, "Well, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I'm on time next week." You can just try saying, "Boy, that sounds really rough," after hearing the child out, and then if it feels appropriate, you can go on to ask them if they have any ideas for ways they might want to avoid getting into trouble for being late again. Because being empathetic doesn't mean condoning behavior we disagree with. But it does mean that the child are more likely to do as we ask them if they feel like we understand what they're going through. Permitting feelings does not permit all expressions of those feelings. It's possible to say, "I can see how much you like jumping, but there's no jumping off chairs in this house, so why don't we go outside and you can show me how high you can jump out there?" Or, "Walls are not for drawing on. Here's some paper to paint whatever you want." Working as a classroom assistant, I've seen the benefit of acknowledging children's feelings before asking them to change their behavior. They are generally much more cooperative because showing that I care how they feel is showing them respect. And sadly, all too many parents and teachers still don't realize the benefits of doing this. We'll talk about this more in following podcasts if you guys want to hear more. Another pitfall which is really difficult to avoid is personal storytelling. So when the child comes back from home and tells you how hard a time they've had, and you're desperate to say, "That reminds me of a time when or "I know how you feel, I used to feel like that when," just hold off for a while. Take the time to listen, because personal storytelling can be very interesting to listen to, but it can also be really frustrating to someone who needs positive attention and needs to talk about their experience first. If you try using empathy first, then once the child calms down, they may be way more receptive to hearing your story and really enjoy it more as well. And another attractive pitfall is trying to educate or give the philosophical response. This could turn into a very positive experience if you just look at it this way. Life's like that. You win some, you lose some. I always tell you to keep your keys in the same place. I can tell you as an adult, I find it extremely frustrating when I've got strong emotion and someone just tries to change the way I view the world instead of understanding how I feel and then maybe suggesting that there's more than one way to look at things. Because these kind of responses can be really alienating and are really unlikely to make the child see the light or keep their keys in the same place. We also don't want to interrogate. If the child hasn't been picked from the baseball team, please don't ask 1001 questions. Why do you think you didn't get picked? Were the other students better than you? Does the teacher have it in for you? What are you going to do now? Empathizing can begin with, "You're really bummed out you didn't make the team this year, huh?" "Yes, because I trained really hard and I was sure I could make it." "So you're disappointed because you think your hard work has gone unacknowledged." "It's not just that. Sam and Johnny are on the team and now I won't get to see them after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you're worried that not being on the team will affect your friendships as well." And so on until the child is visibly calmed down because they've had a chance to express everything they're feeling. It might seem like a very passive role, but put it to the test and see how quickly you're impressed by how helpful just taking the time to reflect a child's emotion back at them is. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this proves to be as helpful to you as it has to me. And if it does, please share it with as many parents as you can. Let's help spread the word about this group and see if we can help everyone improve the relationships. Thanks very much. If you want to learn more, there's some really great books. How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk by Elaine Mazlish, and Adele Faber has a couple of chapters on this. Parent Effectiveness Training by Dr. Thomas Gordon is also a really good book, and Life Enriching Education by Marshall Rosenberg also talks about listening empathically. I hope this helps. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.